if you're worried that you're not doing enough, doubting yourself, you're feeling life is a little chaotic and stressful, then you're in the right place. I read a quote the other day that said that parents of autistic children often have the stress profile that's similar to a combat soldier. So that says it all. And I feel that I can completely relate to that. And this is why I've created this and continue to create all the tools and bits and pieces that are a part of Neuro Awesome, because we deserve this. Welcome. So today we're exploring the idea of the word naughty. So the latest with us is my Mr. 9-year-old has been assessed for his EHCP. Now I'll just give you a few little details about what that involves, because I hear a lot of people talking about EHCPs and applying for them and how difficult the process can be, but I've never actually heard anyone talk about like the ins and outs and what the assessment process involves. So in case you don't know, in our case he was observed at school, and it was actually over Zoom, and then he was observed doing some work with a one-to-one TA, and then we had a Zoom conversation which was about 2.5 hours long, and that was an hour and a half of that, or about an hour of that, was assessment, the child assessment. He did so well to sit for that long. Honestly, by the end he was like sitting on his toes on the chair, like rocking backwards and forwards. He the control that he had, I mean, he did have a break in the middle of that, but yeah, he did so well to concentrate for that long. But then he had the parent interview with me. There was also like a separate Zoom conversation with his class teacher. Then all the different agencies and medical people and everybody involved with him were contacted, because the ADHD like nursing team that we've just been referred to contacted me to ask me a lot of the questions, because we've only just been referred and we hadn't had our first appointment yet. So the date, so they've like accumulated everything, and because they have deadlines, they have like so long to collect everything, and now it's next week where we find out whether actually the process has been successful or not. And I think it can be a bit of a gamble. I know our educational psychologist that assessed him this time round said that he's known children that are non-verbal to be rejected for an EHCP, so it's just a crazy system. So we will see. But yeah, it's using experiences and events and things that have happened to us is, to sort of inspire this episode, because I've recently had a neighbour say to us that, oh, your children are fantastic. Oh, they're so well behaved, aren't they? We hardly ever hear them. And I, like, when I walked away and thought about that more, I was thinking, wow, so that's her, without even realising it, her definition of a well-behaved, good, in inverted commas, child is one that you don't hear. I was thinking, wow, okay, so that's just an old-fashioned maybe point of view, that out of sight, out of mind, I don't know, a child should be seen and not heard, kind of. And then when we were recently at a soft play, massive mistake on my part, because we had the school summer holidays here, the 6 weeks that we have here in the UK, and then in the September a lot of the schools went back on the Monday, but we were still off for an inset day. So I thought, oh, we'll go to soft play, and the weather was all right, so I thought it's not going to be that busy. Most schools have gone back. Oh, big mistake, it was busy. There was loads of kids there. And my children decided to like play a chasing game with some other boys, and it was getting a bit rough. And there was one particular lady that from the get-go had taken it upon herself to have a bit of an issue with all of the kids, like saying to her, I think it was her granddaughter that she was with, like, oh, if anyone hits you, I'll hit him back twice as hard, that kind of attitude. And then it got to a point where everyone was getting a bit tired, and after like an hour and a half, I don't know what had gone on exactly. They were all as bad as one another, just being a bit rough, and it was part of the game, but I think it got taken a little bit too far. And this lady again decided to intervene, even though her granddaughter wasn't part of the game. And she said, "Oh, there's always a naughty leader that takes over and causes all the problems." So I turned around to her and said, "He's not naughty, he's autistic." And actually they were all part of it, and she was just, yeah, she just got up for an issue. But then, like, I got really wound up, as you probably understand if you've been in a similar situation where someone misinterprets your child, and my child is like a born leader. He takes over, he likes to set the rules, he likes to be in control. His brain is very, very busy and out of control, so he likes to take control of games and rules and activities, so he is reassured and he knows what's going on. And a lot of you will probably be able to relate to this, and he has a really strong sense of wrong or right. He doesn't necessarily follow the rules himself. In fact, he doesn't a lot of the time, but he wants everyone else to follow the rules, and he needs that order. So which is going to serve him well, I'm hoping, later on in life, when he's taking control and leading teams and applying these skills. But as a child, that can easily be interpreted as being a negative thing, bossy, and interpreting it in a negative kind of way. And I did get really wound up about it. I was all like shaky, and I was like, right, we're leaving right now. And I was thinking, how dare she? And I was like, should I say something to the owners of the place that are, that this lady is being quite like judgmental and unpleasant and threatening to smack children back twice as hard. Then I thought, you know what, no, it's just not worth it. I did my deep breathing, and I was thinking, you've just got to think in these situations, what is this trying to teach me? What is this trying to teach me? And after thinking about it and calming down, I was thinking, this is not a reflection of us, me or my child or my parenting. It was how she interpreted the situation. Obviously, whether she's not used to like chasing and rough and tumble play, she's just got that granddaughter, we just don't know, like, her situation. Did my son's like wanting to take over and be the leader trigger something in her, the experience that she'd had maybe with someone at school or being told what to do? Did that affect her in some way? Did this bring up some kind of trauma or past experience for her that was negative, and make her react that way? And clearly, when I said that he was autistic and everything, she the way that she looked and sort of acted was very much like she had no awareness of that, or what that entailed, or what effect that would have. So yeah, you think, well, how can I possibly take that on board and feel really bad and as a parent from that situation? But at the time you do, and it is horrible when these things happen. And I have had it happen before, where an elderly lady's just looked at my son, who was like trying to like climb up and stand on a chair, just look at him, go naughty, and point at him. So it is that like point of view, maybe old-fashioned point of view or whatever. So definition of naughty. What it means to be naughty usually means that the child is exhibiting behaviour that adults find frustrating, irritating, confusing, annoying, or even bizarre. So you can easily see how a child with additional needs, who is stimming perhaps, and is flapping their hands or moving erratically, that can be interpreted as naughty. Or their behaviour when they are dysregulated, overwhelmed, and just not coping. Maybe they're being loud, they're acting out because they are out of control of themselves. My children, certainly when they get anxious, become like just unable to control, well, my eldest, unable to control his body, just completely out of control, can be interpreted as naughty. That fits the definition of naughty. I'm not here saying your child is naughty, this definition fits, not at all. I'm saying this is why the label is often given, which is completely incorrect. This is why we need the awareness. And I've actually created some cards which you can download for free on my website, neuroawesome.co.uk. That's neuroawesome.co.uk. It's a free download, and it's a little card. You can select whether your child's got autism, ADHD, or autism and ADHD, and it just explains that your child's condition, that this may that they may display behaviours that might seem to others as being challenging or naughty in inverted commas, but actually they're having a really hard time with this current situation, and you would really appreciate their patience and understanding. So you can just literally give this card to anyone who's giving you a hard time or staring at you or just in the situation, just to get rid of them and help you so you can focus on your child that's having a meltdown or when you're in a tough situation. And that can just, well, it raises awareness, but it also just, it's that little tool that can just get rid of the person that's in the way or making the situation worse sometimes when you are in the middle of that situation with your child. So you can download those for free, or get them in, print out a load of cards and distribute them. I carry them around with me. They've been very handy. And the lady had a go at my child for he was trying to like jump over on people's like lawns, on and off the lawns. And I knew from the second that I saw what he was doing, I was thinking, he'd been on a trip where they'd been to like a concert with thousands of children all playing musical instruments. And yes, he had ear defenders on and things, but that whole experience was, before he went, we were like, should he go? Should he be left out? What's the right decision to make? And of course, all that noise and being out of routine and everything. Yeah, of course he was trying to jump on people's lawns and off. But this lady was absolutely livid. And then even more livid when she told me, and I didn't respond. I just said, okay, thank you for telling me. Give her the card. Get rid of her. Get her off my case. So then she can understand why I was so calm and wasn't suddenly jumping down his throat like having a go at him, which would make the situation worse when he's dysregulated. Dysregulation can be a meltdown or loud or disruptive behaviour, or it can be something that like that where you're jumping on people's flowers, where it's not loud and it's not noisy, it's quietly disruptive. But yeah, it depends on the child, doesn't it, as to how they behave, and not everybody understands unless they are aware. I found a quote as well that says that boys' behaviour can often be a window into their emotions, as they can find it more challenging to express emotions compared to girls. Just looking at the behaviour and thinking, what is this trying to tell me, can answer a lot of questions. No child at all on the planet wakes up and thinks, I'm going to be really difficult today, I'm going to cause as much disruption and be as difficult as I possibly can today. Children innately want to please their carers and want to try and conform, and no child wants to incur their parents' anger or be the disruptive child in the class necessarily, but they want to be admired. They want to be loved by parents, teachers, brothers, sisters, their friends. So you've got to ask what is really happening. And often this can be low self-esteem, linked to children who have autism and ADHD. Low self-esteem, low self-worth, low self-image. It can be a big part of this. And if you do dig deep into the behaviours and maybe even being unkind to other people, that can often be the root of it. It's just asking those questions. And sometimes the best thing to do is ask the child, because they know sometimes way better than we do. When we think, oh, they don't know why they're behaving the way they are, quite often do. This is why it's so important that we do become advocates for our children, and that's sometimes even standing up to their teachers, and I don't mean in a nasty, aggressive way. I mean like speaking to the teachers and getting the teachers to really understand the child's needs and why children behave in a particular way at a particular time, after they're tired, after there's been a change of routine, after there's been a different teacher covering the class, to really get them to understand. That can be so tricky, from first-hand experience, how difficult that can be. And asking what the child does need and how he can be helped, and getting other adults to resist the urge to punish. That just doesn't help in a lot of situations. It just doesn't help. And getting teachers to understand that there are other ways, and actually when you are meeting the child's needs and giving them different ways to cope, whether that's to be being sent to do a job, being sent to take something to the office, or being given some quiet time, or being given a movement break, or whatever it might be, that will help the situation, rather than punishing, which quite often just makes things worse, makes the child feel worse, just adding to the problem. There was a poem that was referenced by someone called Stevie Smith, and it's called Not Waving But Drowning. And if you look up that poem, Not Waving But Drowning, it talks about a person that looks like they're in the sea, and it looks like they're waving. And at first glance, it could look like they're just waving at everybody on a boat, but actually they're drowning. And how often do we think, oh, look, the class clown wants to impress everybody and wants to make everyone laugh, likes playing the fool, but actually, is that not the case? Are they drowning? And that's their way of coping. They're not, in fact, loving that role. It's just they've found themselves in a position where they have very little choice. As the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. So it's being very aware that, is this like lashing out at other people, or this behaviour that's coming out is coming from a place of hurt, feeling like they're not fitting in, feeling like lacking in confidence, feeling like they're not good enough. It's coming from sometimes a place of that, as well as a place of overwhelm and dysregulation, depending on the situation. And also, it's so important that we check in with ourselves as well, and look in at how we're behaving. We're under quite a lot of stress a lot of the time. Are we modelling the behaviour that we wish to see? It's so hard to stay calm in the middle of a meltdown, with everything going on, with life, with everything life throws. But are we modelling how to stay calm in these situations? Are we modelling the appropriate language to use in these times? We're modelling how to talk about emotions and saying, oh, I feel really upset right now, or oh, that makes me very angry right now, that this has just happened. Are we modelling this? Because you'd be surprised how much your child picks up on what you're saying, how you're feeling, how present you're being, and your actions and behaviours definitely affect them. So, and that's not coming from a place of criticism, that's coming from a place of just being aware, being really aware. One of the hardest things can be to regulate yourself in these situations when your child is an absolute expert at triggering you and pressing all your buttons, quite often all at the same time. So it's finding different ways for you to cope as well. Make sure that you're looking after yourself and filling your cup. I know it's such a cliche, but how important is it that we look after ourselves? And I'm not sat here talking from a place of feeling that I've got all this nailed. Absolutely not. I'm a single parent with 3 children on my own, two of my eldest have additional needs, autism, my eldest autism and ADHD. My third child, who I have a huge question mark over, has now started school, and I think it's becoming more apparent now he's started school and he's living with the stresses of school and being tired and everything. His behaviour when he comes home is presenting more and more like there are needs there. And just on a side note, I went to see a psychic recently, and we were talking about the children and everything, and the first thing she said, I hadn't told her anything about me, absolutely nothing about me or the children. The first thing she said, oh, your youngest child, he's autistic. And I was thinking, yeah, well, that kind of answers that question, because she was bang on with everything else. So I was thinking, that kind of answers my question then. He's becoming more wanting to control things. So I don't know if we're starting to see elements of, or certainly autism, but some ADHD as well. Wanting to wear the same grey shorts like all the time. Wanting to control things, needing to be first to have his teeth brushed, first to have his uniform put on, first to eat his breakfast. It's a lot of control. It may or may not be. I'm just observing what he's up to as he's settling in. But yeah, it's interesting to watch. Thank you for listening. If you'd like support with your child or your whole family, you can visit my website www.flourish-hypnotherapy.co.uk. You can find hypnosis audios for support with things like sleep, confidence, anxiety. You can have your own personalised audio created just for you or your child, or you can book in an RTT hypnotherapy session. All hypnotherapy is very gentle, relaxing, enjoyable, all completely age appropriate. So let's restore some happiness, because you deserve to feel happy, confident, and calm, and yourself again.